Have you ever felt that the deeper you think, the more alone you become? That the more you understand about life, the less people want to hear it? It's not just in your head. Society has always had a complicated relationship with deep thinkers, not because they're wrong, but because they see what others refuse to face. From Plato to Spinoza, from Marie Curie to Alan Turing, history shows us that brilliant minds are often mocked, silenced, or pushed aside. Not for lack of wisdom, but because they make people uncomfortable. The 19th century philosopher Soren Kierkegaard, one of the most raw and introspective thinkers, believed that true insight was a burden, a solitary path that sets you apart. But why does this happen? Why does society resist those who dare to think beyond the surface? Let's unravel this. When you stand next to someone who's physically powerful, you might admire their strength without feeling small. If you meet someone wealthy, you might envy their success, but it doesn't wound your core. But when you encounter someone whose mind cuts through illusions, something shifts. Psychologists call this the shadow effect. A deep thinker doesn't just share ideas, they expose the gaps in how others see the world. Their presence, even without words, can make people feel vulnerable, as if their own beliefs are suddenly fragile. And humans don't take kindly to that. Why does intellectual depth stir such unease? Let's break it down. Physical strength or wealth are external traits, impressive, but not a direct challenge to who you are. Intelligence, though, is different. It's tied to identity. Our thoughts, beliefs, and worldview define us. When someone questions what we hold as true, it feels like an attack on our very self. This isn't just philosophy, it's psychology. Studies show that when people feel outmatched intellectually, their brain's threat response kicks in, lighting up the amygdala, the same region that reacts to danger. In other words, a deep thinker's ideas can trigger the same primal fear as a predator in the wild. This is why history's greatest minds were often outcasts. Their insights didn't just challenge ideas, they challenged egos. And egos fight back. Think about this. Have you ever shared a profound thought in a group, only to be met with silence or a quick topic change? That's not random. It's a defense mechanism. People avoid discomfort by shutting down complexity. They'd rather stay in the shallow end of conversation than dive into the deep. This is why deep thinkers feel like they're shouting into a void, not because their ideas lack value, but because society isn't always ready to listen. Let's look at how this plays out. When someone's physically strong, we see them as a protector, a leader. Wealth? We aspire to it or admire it. But intelligence? It's trickier. Unlike external qualities, intelligence forces us to confront our own limits. It's not just about the thinker's brilliance, it's about what their clarity reveals in us. The shadow effect doesn't just expose personal insecurities, it shows why society resists change. Deep thinkers don't just offer new perspectives, they disrupt the comfort of the status quo. And humans, by nature, cling to what's familiar. History is littered with examples. Take Plato, the ancient Greek philosopher. He urged people to question reality, to seek truth beyond appearances. His reward? Alienation from Athens' elite, who saw his ideas as a threat to their power. Or consider Baruch Spinoza, a 17th century thinker whose radical views on God and existence got him excommunicated from his community. His crime wasn't heresy, it was daring to think freely. Fast forward to Marie Curie, whose groundbreaking work in radioactivity faced skepticism from a male-dominated scientific world. She won 2 Nobel Prizes, yet spent years as an outsider, her genius undervalued until long after her time. Why does society push these minds away? It's not just personal, it's evolutionary. For most of human history, survival meant sticking with the tribe. Agreement ensured safety, dissent risked exile. Our brains are wired to prioritize social harmony over intellectual rebellion. A 2020 study from MIT found that when people feel intellectually outshined in groups, their stress response spikes. In one-on-one settings, they're curious, open. But in crowds, social status takes over. People don't just react to the thinker, they react to how they look in comparison. If someone's ideas make them feel small, they'll dismiss or attack to save face. This isn't just instinct, it's reinforced by cognitive biases. The Dunning-Kruger effect shows that people with limited knowledge often overestimate their competence, dismissing deeper insights. The status quo bias makes us cling to familiar beliefs, even when they're flawed. And the backfire effect? When faced with ideas that challenge their worldview, people don't rethink, they dig in harder. Deep thinkers face these walls constantly. Their ideas aren't just ignored, they're resisted because they force people to question themselves. In today's world, this rejection is amplified. Social media algorithms favor quick, emotional content over nuance. A 2022 study found that posts sparking outrage or humor spread 6 times faster than thoughtful ones. Deep ideas don't go viral, they take time, patience, something the digital age doesn't reward. The most followed voices aren't the wisest, they're the loudest, the ones who simplify life into catchy slogans. Meanwhile, those who wrestle with existence or consciousness struggle to break through the noise. So, why does society fear the deep thinker? It's not intelligence itself, it's what it represents. Change. Uncertainty. Truth. Soren Kierkegaard understood this. He called deep thinking a fearful gift. Unlike most philosophers, who saw reason as liberation, Kierkegaard saw it as a weight. He believed humans are driven by what he called angst, a restless craving for meaning in a chaotic world. Most people chase distractions, relationships, success, entertainment, to avoid this angst. But deep thinkers? They lean into it. They question the purpose of life, the nature of consciousness, the illusions we live by. And that sets them apart. Kierkegaard argued that the deeper you think, the more you see through society's comforts. Most people find joy in routine, family, work, small pleasures. But deep thinkers often feel detached, as if they're watching life from the outside. They see the contradictions others ignore, the pursuit of wealth that doesn't satisfy, the beliefs we cling to despite evidence. This clarity is powerful, but it's lonely. Kierkegaard wrote, "The crowd is untruth." To him, the majority's approval meant little, truth lay in the individual's struggle to understand. This is the paradox of deep thinking: the more you know, the harder it is to connect. Society rewards confidence over doubt, simplicity over complexity. Charismatic leaders, viral influencers, they thrive by offering easy answers. Deep thinkers, with their nuances and questions, often fade into the background. But here's the thing, their ideas endure. Plato's dialogues still shape philosophy. Spinoza's ethics inspire modern thought. Curie's discoveries changed science forever. Society may resist deep thinkers in the moment, but it's their vision that moves us forward. So, what does this mean for you, the deep thinker watching this? First, know you're not alone. The isolation you feel isn't a flaw, it's a sign you're seeing what others miss. Second, understand the forces at play. People don't reject your ideas because they're wrong, they reject them because they're uncomfortable. Neuroscience shows us this: the brain fights complexity like it fights a threat. Social dynamics amplify it, and digital platforms drown out depth. But you can navigate this. Here's how. 1. Embrace solitude, but don't worship it. Kierkegaard saw alone time as sacred, a space for reflection and creation. Use it to write, think, create. But don't let it consume you. 2. Find your people. You don't need everyone to understand you, just a few who do. Seek out communities, online or off, where depth is valued. 3. Communicate wisely. Deep ideas scare people if they feel judged. Frame your thoughts as invitations, not lectures. Simplify without losing truth, think of it as translating the infinite into the everyday. Let's pause for a moment. Have you ever felt dismissed for sharing a big idea? Maybe you brought up consciousness or existence at a party, only to watch eyes glaze over. That's the shadow effect in action. But don't stop. Your mind is a gift, even if it feels like a curse sometimes. Society needs deep thinkers, even if it doesn't know it yet. Look at history. Every major leap, science, art, philosophy, came from minds that refused to conform. Alan Turing, persecuted in his time, gave us the computer age. Hypatia, murdered for her intellect, inspired centuries of rational thought. Their ideas were too much for their era, but they changed the world. You don't need to be a genius to make a difference, just someone who dares to think. So, if you've ever felt like an outsider for your thoughts, here's the truth: you're not broken. You're ahead. Society doesn't fear you, it fears what you reveal. The discomfort you spark is proof you're hitting something real. Keep going. Share your ideas with those ready to hear them. Find your tribe. And remember, the world may not be ready for you now, but it will catch up. If this resonated, drop a comment. Have you ever felt isolated for thinking deeply? How do you handle it? Let's start a conversation. And if you want more dives into the mind, existence, and consciousness, hit subscribe. This is Cognitive Cosmos, and we're just getting started.